That's a perfect freeze thing. Hi, I'm Janae.
Hey, I'm Brittany. So today we're talking about Lot's wife.
Yeah.
And first, if you want to follow along a little bit, I'll give you the key scriptures first. You're going to look at Genesis chapter 18, verses 16 through chapter 19, verse 29. And then also Luke chapter 17, verses 28 through 33. So just a little bit about Lot's wife. I'm just going to read it, what it says in this book that we're studying from, because it says it pretty well. It says that she was a prosperous woman who may have been more attracted or attached to the good life than was good for her. Though there is no indication she participated in the sin of Sodom, her story implies that she had learned to tolerate it and that her heart had become divided as a result. So Lot's wife doesn't even have a name in the Bible, which we thought was pretty interesting. And so she was known by being Lot's wife. And a lot of people know the story of Sodom and Gomorrah and how it was destroyed because of all of the sin in the city. And there were angels that came to Lot and urged him to leave the city. And so Lot took his 2 daughters and his wife, and this was their home. So of course, he hesitated a bit to leave. But the angels took them and escorted them out of the city to a safe spot and told them to run. They said that the city would be punished, and they said, "Do not look back." And so this is what they actually said. It says, "Flee for your lives, don't look back, and don't stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the mountains or you will be swept away." So they started to run, and Lot's wife looked back at their city and looked at what was being destroyed, and that was her home. And she, like the book says earlier, she learned to tolerate what was going on in her city. She kind of learned to live with it. Whether she was a part of it or not, she learned to live with it like it was no big deal. And so when she looked back, she became a pillar of salt. And that's kind of what Lot's wife was known for, is looking back to the city that she tolerated and that was being destroyed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like Brittany said, Lot's wife was known more for what she did rather than who she was, like a mother, a wife, a daughter. She was known more for being turned into that pillar of salt. But what we wanted, like the way we saw it, was that sometimes, because I honestly believe that when they started living there, it wasn't as sinful as it turned out to be. Obviously, like, it just kept acclimating into this bigger thing. But I just think that when you surround yourself with a little bit of sin, it allows more sin to come in. And before you see it, you are just surrounded by it. You know what I mean? Like, before you can even realize how bad it's gotten, I don't know how to say it. Sorry. All I'm trying to say is if you give the devil an inch, he'll take a mile. And that's just how it ended up going in that city. They started off with a little bit of sin, and it just grew into this bigger thing. It says it really well in Brittany's study Bible about what's going on. And it's pulled from Genesis 19, verse 26. And it says, hold on. It says, Lot's wife turned back to look at the smoldering city of Sodom, clinging to the past. She was unwilling to turn completely away. Are you looking back longingly at sin while trying to move forward with God? You cannot make progress with God as long as you're holding on to pieces of your old life. Jesus said it in Matthew 6:24, "No one can serve 2 masters." And then if we go on, we pulled another verse, and it's Luke 18, verse 32, and it says, "Remember Lot's wife, whoever tries to keep his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life will preserve it." That just brought up This story actually brings up a lot in my life. So it was just really meaningful to me. But it's just so honest how it says, like, if you're trying to move forward in a relationship with God, you can't continue having your foot on both sides. You can't, like, one minute want to be all gung-ho on God, and then the next minute want to still have that old life that you had. And it's not saying that you can't be friends with the same old people. You can't, like, do some of the same things that you did. It's just saying that, like, you need to make sure that you're past that. You know, like, I know that I have a lot of friends that aren't Christian and still tend to party and stuff like that. But I know now that I am strong enough to be around them. But I also know not to put myself in situations where I can be tempted so much to want to go back to that lifestyle. Because as I'm trying to move into a more godly life and into a more godly woman, I have to surround myself with more godly people. And that's kind of how it happened with the city as well. Like, instead of surrounding yourself in sin, you need to surround yourself in God. But yeah, it's just definitely going to show that you can't serve two masters. You can't be a slave to sin and free in the Lord. It just doesn't make sense. You need to be 100% completely free in the Lord, and you need to rely on Him for things like that. So, yeah.
So we're just gonna start with some questions that the book had for us, and one of our favorites was that even though warned not to do so, Lot's wife couldn't resist looking back. And why do you think she turned? Was she sad, scared, curious, or what do you think? And for me personally, I think it was a mixture of everything. Curious of what her life might have been if she was joined in the sin with Sodom and Gomorrah, or curious of what's going to happen to maybe some of her friends that she might have grew to know in that city. Like, there was her home. So you imagine the city where you came from and you have all of your friends. Even, like Janae said, she still has non-Christian friends. So imagine if she went home and they were all killed because of their sin. Like, that would still hurt Janae. Mm-hmm. And so, and I know I've been curious about what my life would have been like if I chose a different path, or if I chose to make different decisions than the one I have made. So definitely that. I definitely think everyone's scared to let go of their past, whether it's good or bad. Scared of leaving your home and finding something new. Definitely upset as well, like you're losing everything you've ever known. Mm-hmm. And so all of I don't believe there's a right or wrong answer to this question, because there's so many emotions that one can go through when seeing your home is being destroyed. Mm-hmm. And when you're not, it's always like you want what you can't have. So not being able to look back, you're even more curious, like, well, why can't I? Mm-hmm. What's back there? I want to know. And so, nobody is perfect, and we're not saying like, oh, Lot's wife is a terrible person, because like Janae said, she wasn't known for being a mother or a wife or a daughter or anything like that. She was known for her mistake. Mm-hmm. And she paid for her mistake. She was a pillar of salt after that. I mean, what more can you get? But, we are only human, and we do have so many emotions that conflict with what we're supposed to do. But, don't hesitate, for sure. Mm-hmm. Don't hesitate to let go of who you've been or what your past was like. Mm-hmm. Another one of our questions was, in Lot's wife, we can see ourselves looking back, regretting decisions made, mourning lost opportunities, yearning for ended relationships, because we're looking behind us. We can't see what is before us. We may not turn into a pillar of salt, but we'll end up stuck in one place. Do you spend a lot of time looking back? How can you leave the past behind, enjoy the present, and plan for the future?
Well, when we read this question, it kind of pointed all arrows at me. And kind of how last week it was just something that we felt like Brittany should share a little bit about herself this week. We definitely feel like it's me that needs to do some sharing. So, mine specifically would be yearning for ended relationships. And I am known around the house for talking about old relationships and all that stuff because I'm a relationship type of person and I like being in them, okay? But yeah, what I realized that's actually doing in my life is when I began to yearn for this ended relationship, it's what is holding me back from my future relationships. It's what's holding me back from my husband. And for that, I have decided to take a year off of dating, and I'm in my last couple months of it, but it's because I wasn't able to let go of this. Because the thing about sin, because it wasn't a perfect relationship, it was a sinful relationship, but the thing about sin is it's so easy to get comfortable in it, and it's so easy altogether. You know, when you're in sin, it's not hard. You know, I would honestly say that living the Christian path is like the hard one. So for people that are saying, oh, it's straight edge people taking like the easy road out, it is hard being like Christian. So I know 100% that sometimes I will end up looking back at that relationship and looking back at that time in my life and asking myself, I wonder what it would be if I had stayed that way. Or sometimes I question it and say, you know what, like, I'm so sick of trying to live the right life that I want to turn back and go to the easy parts where I had no one to be accountable to, no more morality or anything like that. But the thing that I find is that although in sin it's easy, it's not satisfying. When you're living in sin and when you don't have God in your heart, like, you'll continue looking for other sin to fill that hole in your heart, and that's what ended up happening to me. I went from relationship to relationship to relationship, trying to find that place for someone to fill that ultimately only belongs to God and only God could fill. So, yes, I really encourage you, if you're in that time of just questioning or wondering if it's just easier to live in sin, I'll be honest with you, yes, it is. It's easier to live in sin, but the outcome of it is like so horrible. And if you just work hard in this life, like it says, like, we work hard and like there is a crown of like jewels waiting for us and stuff like that. Of course, we probably won't care about that being around Jesus, but like still, like, there's so much like more benefit to us that we can get living a life that God has for us, because ultimately God wants the best for us. So why wouldn't we just want to live for Him? But yeah, I would just encourage you to look towards God during these times, because I know that during my times of wanting to be back into a relationship and missing that specific relationship, I have to remember that ultimately God has given me more love than that man ever could. So, yeah, there's my little tidbit.
We gotta leave it for the questions.
Oh yeah, we have questions. We have more questions.
So we have a few more little questions to leave off with, to let you guys think about. And again, please give us your feedback. We definitely want to know your answers and what you're thinking and stuff like that. But some of the questions are, why do you think Lot hesitated to leave? What might he have been thinking? When have you hesitated to do something you knew God wanted you to do? Why did you hesitate and what happened? And again, like, you don't have to share with us what's, something really personal, but we would love to hear back from you and your thoughts. And definitely, like, this can be said for your future as well. Like, don't get too caught up in your dreams for your future. Yearn for God right now, because He'll give you what your heart desires. Yeah. And He has a plan for you. He has your future all set for you, and He knows that you're going to do great things, and don't let that hold you back. Don't let, impatience hold you back, because He has the greatest things in store for you, and It's gonna be amazing. So don't let your past hold you back, and don't let your future make you fearful for what God has planned for you.
So next week, tomorrow. But before I get into that, if you guys want a really uplifting song, I just thought of it. We were just at church yesterday, and they said it's called "Come Away with Me" by Jesus Culture.
That's such a good song.
And it goes I've got a plan for you. I've got a plan for you. I've got a plan for you. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be wild, and it's gonna be full of me. Oh, so good. So if you want an encouraging song for your future and what God has for you, definitely check that song out. We'll post it tonight. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So tomorrow we are going to be covering Rebecca. And her name means loop or tie. We actually have a Rebecca in the room right now, so woo! Yeah, Rebecca. So the key scriptures you're going to want to be looking up is Genesis 24, Genesis 25, 19 through 34, and Genesis 26, 1 through 28. So, see you tomorrow.
Bye, guys.
Bye.